I have a hard time playing a lot of smaller indie games for more than a couple of hours. There's definitely a lot that I have loved and sunk plenty of hours into. Dead Cells, Shovel Knight, Hollow Knight, a lot of nights now that I think about it, but for the most part I may play for an hour or two and never come back, especially if it's something I'm playing specifically for YouTube, because then it kinda just feels like work. Is that the wrong attitude to have? Probably. But once in a while a gem comes that really holds my interest and makes me go, ooh! Aggelos is one of those games. But a quick thank you to PQube Limited and Storybird Games for providing me with the review code for the Switch version of this game. And as always, whether I paid for it or not, my opinion is my own and unbiased. Created by Wonder Boy Bobby, the demo for this game was released on itch.io back in 2016, and the full game released last year in 2018 on Steam. I didn't know that the game existed until I saw it in the Coming Soon section of the Switch eShop. Steam strikes again. And I'm glad I did, because I reached out to the dev and requested a review code, and the game managed to grab hold of my attention ever since I started playing. Inspired by classic side-scrolling Japanese adventure games like Wonder Boy and even Zelda 2, Aggelos is an action RPG that will have you running back and forth around the non-linear world where you'll encounter increasingly difficult enemies, tough bosses, and Metroidvania-like exploration with new skills and items adding to your methods of world traversing. Now maybe you're thinking retro-inspired pixel art games are a dime a dozen these days, and you're right, but shut up. This game, in my opinion, really stands out from the crowd amidst the other games out there, and it's really a shame that nobody else is really talking about it. So I wanted to share with you guys, because now that this game is out on consoles, I think we should give it a lot more attention than it's been getting. On the normal difficulty, the game is challenging yet forgiving, and if you'd rather be a bit more crushed, then the hard difficulty is right there waiting for you. Like many stories told before this, you play as a young hero armed with nothing but your sword and your wits. There's an evil wizard named Valian who's just being evil and doing all kinds of bad things, so it's up to you to collect the 4 elemental crystals that you need to forge the key to break into his house and show him who's boss. Which is you, by the way. Upon booting up the game for the first time, you can really see the Japanese inspiration. Like, really see it. It's in Japanese. Okay, it's in English too, but for me at least, when I had the pre-release version on the Switch and launched it for the first time, it was in Japanese. It was weird. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I got a chuckle out of it either way. I did have to go into the options and change it into English, which you can do if that happens to you. The game is advertised as a 16-bit looking game, but it looks a lot more like a detailed NES game to me. But the worlds, enemies, and character sprites feel right at home, and the music feels like it's taken straight from a classic childhood game, assuming your childhood was in the 80s or early 90s. And it's not just how the music sounds, but also how memorable it is and how fond I became of it as I played more and more. I think the composer did a really fantastic job of capturing the sound and feeling of that era of games. Now, the bosses are where the detail and beautiful art really shine through the most, reminding me of a mix between Wonder Boy and Mega Man bosses. In fact, this big beautiful Dragon Boy is displayed on the game's artwork on the Switch eShop, and that is what drew me into even giving this game a second look to begin with. He's just so voluptuous. Side note, this boss has an attack that looks like the Target logo, and I just thought that was kind of funny. Help! I'm being attacked by exciting merchandise at competitive prices! You do start off the game with just a sword, but you end up with so much more. I mean, your main weapon is still a sword, but you get abilities too. From Shovel Knight-esque downward stabs, to a bubble that helps you swim in water, to a fireball that doubles as a portal gun. Yeah, a portal gun. Pretty sweet. These and many other skills you'll unlock make the game so much fun to play as you explore new areas and face new monsters. The game, like any, has its share of annoyances though. Most of the time, if you just pay attention to the clues NPCs give you, you can figure out where to go next, and that really is a lot of the charm of the game, but there are just times where you're like, what? Sometimes though, it is a little easy to get lost, especially in dungeons. The game does have a map, and while it does look really nice with the beautiful pixel art, it doesn't really help much. It would have been nice for it to have more utility, like a Metroidvania style map showing where you can go instead of like a pretty picture. I mean, it still looks really nice though. Also, this game has some like Ninja Gaiden levels of knockback. When platforming and getting pummeled by enemies and projectiles, it can get just a tad infuriating, maybe sometimes a tad more. Also, this blue pause screen will burn your eyeballs if you look directly into it. Despite this, the game is a great time to be had. I haven't finished it yet, but I've managed to put half a dozen hours into it so far, and plan to keep on keeping on to the very end. And at only $15, I'd say even if I had paid for my copy, I would have already gotten well over my money's worth in good times. If you want to play Aggelos, do it. It's worth it, I promise you. It's available today on Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and of course it is still on Steam. Check it out and support the developers.